Having the moon in the 10th house in the natal chart means a lot of different things, and I'm going to get into it today. The moon in the 10th house is really all about putting your focus on your work, your emotional focus. Investing your emotional energy into what you're doing. Being very, very determined to make a different kind of move in this emotional arena. Really, really act in these kind of ways very, very strongly. Having the moon here makes it very, very difficult to separate out the emotions from the work situation, from the business situation. I actually have the moon in the 10th house. And as I go through this information, I'm going to try to incorporate my own experiences into this, although a lot of it is not what I'm, relating to, because I haven't, the life area of work is not active in my life right now because I'm not in a career. I'm in a job, part-time. I'm going to go there today for 2 hours, but I'm not in a career, and I have a plan for my career. It'll be a 2-part career, being an astrologer and being a music artist, producing songs about astrology and several, I have a whole list of songs that I want to create and albums that I want to come up with. So I have a lot of ideas for music, and that would be a dream to become a music artist. And I'm already on Spotify to begin with, so I might as well just put myself on Spotify in another way, which is putting my music on there, professionally done in a studio, not me just playing the piano music at the keyboard, or whatever that kind of thing is. So I want that for my career, something creative. And so I'm going to get into this deeply of what's going on. I think this will be a shorter episode. This won't be as long. So, for me personally, when I was in school, when I was, out there in the world, just putting myself, in the world, what happened was I'm very, very introverted out in the world. I'm very, very shy and closed down and not, very, very emotionally expressive, and me being my true self out in the world. At home is where I really am my true authentic self, shine, and being my Aries sun in the 4th house, which I talked about the sun in the 4th house in other videos. So this video is a follow-up video for that. So the sun in the 4th house is being very, very emotionally controlling in the home and expressing your identity and your personality in the home environment. The moon in the 10th is being very, very, like in my experience, I'm very, very quiet out in the world. Like when I was in school, even though this is not work, being very, very quiet. Maybe the 3rd house rules primary education, so it plays up here. But I have the moon in Libra, and so whenever I'm out in the world at work, I am very wanting harmony and peace. I want balance. I want justice and fairness. And I am not very, very assertive or very, very outspoken or aggressive. And I can even go on the side of people pleasing, depends upon the severity of what's going on, just to make the other happen. I'm trying not to rock the boat in a way where I'm just very, very gentle and as open as I can be. And if I am being that, then I expect that from other people in that environment. If I am being diplomatic, kind, harmonious, all those Libran traits, I expect that from others in that work environment. I demand that of others in that work environment. Yet, them being their true selves, giving me permission to then be my true self. So you see how that works. I find this to be very, very huge for me in my life personally, and I'm going to get into this. So, first of all, what is the 10th house? What does the 10th house actually mean in astrology? Well, the 10th house is your career. I made a song about, in my Music of Everett Cardi podcast, about how I don't like astrologers when they do 12-sign horoscopes and they do talk about the houses for the signs, like focus on the houses instead of the signs. And so when I talked about the 10th house in that video, I basically mentioned it had to do with work. But it's more than that. It's career, your status. It rules over your reputation out in the world and how you want to be seen and perceived out into the world with what you do. And at best, it can be service and you doing it because you authentically want to, or worse, it can be the need for status and prestige. Like that is, the 10th house is Capricorn, so that is kind of what that rules. So there is this deep need here. Okay. So as I said at the beginning of this video, certain things are not separated out. Kind of like you're talking about Saturn and Pisces, the thing with Saturn and Pisces is that it's really, really hard to separate fantasy versus reality. And when I get to Saturn and Pisces, I cannot wait to talk about that. Because I am fascinated with Saturn and Pisces. We just had a whole, 2.5 years of, 3 years of Saturn and Pisces. And I'm so glad that I filmed a video that I just posted to my channel from my original channel just the other day for you to check out and look back on that transit. I kind of sabotaged my original channel by cheating my way through the system and promoting my videos, and if I didn't do that, I'd probably still be on there. Very, very likely still be on that channel doing what I was doing. But I had to, create certain things and make things happen, which kind of messed it all up for me. So this is the last stop on the changing road of my channels, and I plan to be here on this channel doing this for the long, long, long haul. I'm telling you. The other thing I want to remind you before even going into this information is that I came to the decision that I'm going to not limit myself to doing just one astrology transit a week, because I'm thinking about the end of June, for instance. There's going to be 3 things happening simultaneously. Full moon in Capricorn, Mercury retrograde in Cancer, Jupiter in Leo, all that I want to talk about. So, I just won't try to, keep up with the astrological events. And if I don't get to all the ones I want to talk about, then, so what? But, I want to do as many as possible because, I enjoy doing that. And, I wanted to get out there to as many people as possible so they know my approach. And also, I think, I listen to these videos and it's like, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do and expecting myself to do it. When really those videos are suggestions. And those videos are, like when I give astrological meaning and insight for the different signs, it's suggestions for what you need to know for that particular transit. Not that you have to do it or apply it. Now, I'll allow myself to think about them, but I'll just enjoy them and not expect myself to do them, because there's so many transits. You could not expect to just live out every single transit because there's one thing happening, another thing happening. Like, just have that for your consideration. You may or may not apply it, but just think about it. Just allow yourself to think about it, just without putting pressure on yourself, to do it. and to try to grasp what exactly I'm talking about with how it applies to you in your life. Like allow it to come to you, and just if it resonates, great. If it doesn't, well, then it doesn't. With those videos, I really, really want those to be meaningful for me and the audience. And if I have to follow the very advice that I give for my particular signs, and I have to do it, then it's not meaningful. That's what I've found over many, many years of working with oracle cards and all that stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out before even going into this. So I will proceed into this now. So what exactly blends into one here? Well, emotional fulfillment. Feeling like, wow, my life is in a good emotional direction. Everything is, put in the right place. All the ducks are in a row, all the grass is green, and all the trees are blooming and blossoming, and the flowers sing. So, emotional fulfillment. Feeling good on an emotional level. Feeling that, a sense of warm gratitude and contentment. And, it's because that's what the moon is. It's, the moon is what you need to feel, good emotionally. Like, if you don't feel good emotionally, then you're not really nurturing and following your moon sign and giving yourself the nurturing and the love and the care that you need. Like, taking care of the precious. Taking care of the precious. Yeah, I know that a YouTube channel that I used to follow who talked about authenticity, like, you are the precious, so nurture your precious self. So in, lunar energy, the moon energy, and Cancerian energy, we need to nurture ourselves, look after ourselves. So what can happen is this aspect of ourselves, and then our professional success, our work success out in the world with what we do, they tend to blend into one thing. I just want to say this before I even get into it. I think what will work for me is, in the fall when I start up at taking community college, I will go back down to 4 videos a week instead of, all videos, every day, because I won't have the time, because I'll be, doing work and all that. So I don't want to be burdened with, a video and that every single day. That's just not going to work for me. So I just want to say that before even getting that. That's just my plan for that time. Anyway, I had to get that out. Like, if something comes up and I have to talk about it, then I will talk about it, because then I can actually focus on what I'm delivering. So excuse me if I just bring up those kind of things. So, emotional fulfillment and professional success blend into one. It's very, very difficult to section them out, to put them in separate categories, to put one in category A, put the other in category B. Like, they all blend into one thing. Very, very easily, so to speak, in that kind of way. Now, growing up, and I read this and I related to it, you may have grown up in a family where basically it kind of relates to the South Node and Capricorn North Node and Cancer conversation that is also in this podcast. If you want an in-depth look on that conversation, that I had with Cancer North nodes, where I read astrology, Dan Spiller's Astrology for the Soul, and went really, really in depth. I would check out this video because there's a lot of pearls of knowledge in that video that I really, really recommend that you check out. But so, Capricorn South node has this conditioning and this experience and this emotional memory of not being allowed to feel their emotions and lay into their emotions and be vulnerable and share their emotions openly and emotionally nurture others. Like, that's the South node in Capricorn. And with this, it's where emotional expression, just feeling and just sharing what you feel and being nurtured, both being nurtured and being taken care of by others with, how you feel, and being loved by others with how you feel, and then nurturing others in return. That whole thing was not at the top of the pecking order for you. In comparison to goals and achievement. The goals and achievement were more important and more of a priority rather than the emotional thing. The emotional nurturing, the emotional bonding of, what you're getting yourself into when it comes to taking care of yourself on a deep, very, very special, sacred emotional level. So, it was not so much emotional, it was more business and work. So, my mom, Capricorn Sun, Capricorn Mercury, and Capricorn Venus, Capricorn Stellium, Saturn in Taurus, which is Saturn's very, very strong in Taurus because Taurus likes to go slowly and steadily, and Saturn is very much about slowly and methodically going through something. Saturn and Virgo, all that kind of thing. Like, those are my mom's Earth placements. And as a Capricorn and someone who has dominant Capricorn energy, you're somebody who's really, really focused on the obligations you have, on doing things out of duty, on your career, on your work, on your long-term goals, on your achievements. She was always very, very driven toward her career, teaching, being a professor at the local college. Now she's a professor in Des Moines, Iowa, Drake University. And so always very, very driven and very motivated towards that, very, very serious and focused on, on making it the best, on being that, she was the head of the department, and Capricorn is a sign that's a leader. Capricorn corresponds to Synthesa, that's why I'm bringing it up. It's, where she is, or where she was a leader, organizing everything and running the department. And so, that's a very, very Capricorn thing, is to be in, the leader. Like Capricorn's cardinal signs, they want to be the leader of the band, the leader of the clan. So she did show, act in a way where she was very, very driven towards that. And so, we have a very, very special relationship. I think that the synastry between our charts, like my moon is at, my Venus is at 2 degrees of Gemini, her moon is at 2 degrees of Gemini, and a lot of other aspects in our charts, but moon and air signs, nodes sextile each other, so many aspects going on in our charts that make us very, very compatible, although I haven't really fully looked into that. but really, really huge focus towards career growing up. So in work, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Like, I am giving a prophecy of myself here. I am predicting how I am going to be in my work situation, which will not be like the typical cubicle work, business building, presenting a strategy for a campaign, that whole typical work situation. Not going to be my cup of tea. Not going to be what I'm going to be doing. No, not my life. But you wear your heart on your, you wear your heart on your sleeve. You're very, very real and authentic when it comes to the emotions that you feel, and you tend to express those emotions at work. So whether it be joy, excitement, sorrow, pain, loss, calm, you'll express that at work. Others will know about your emotional states, and others will know your moods, and others will be really, really aware of that. And as a result, they will trust you because you're emotionally intelligent, you're emotionally open, and it's about willing to be vulnerable about your emotions at work, willing to open up to those you can trust at work. And these are very, very good qualities to show. Like, this is not a bad placement for the moon. And I like how my sun and moon are placed in terms of their house placements. And they're directly opposite each other. So get this, my sun is in Aries in the 4th, my moon is in Libra in the 10th. Aries and Libra are opposite signs. The 4th house corresponds to Cancer, the 10th house corresponds to Capricorn, and those are opposites. So, well, and then I have my other opposition of my nodes, which are Taurus, Scorpio. So, anyway, yeah. So, so you'll express these emotions at work very really, very, very, in a very, very real, honest way. You're really, really concerned with how your peers, your colleagues are going to see you. Well, you're really, really concerned with how others are going to see in your work, and authority figures. You're really, really concerned with how others will look to you. You're very, very emotionally concerned with how others, what others think of you, what others have to say about you, and their open, honest truth and opinions. Like, so concerned about that. So, bosses, bosses don't really want a destitute and emotionally dependent employee. Like, they don't want that. They want somebody who is self-sufficient, somebody who is independent, can take care of themselves, very, very strong in themselves, very, very efficient, working hard, puts a lot of effort into it, very, very ambitious and very dedicated and very hardworking. Like, that's what an employer or a boss or a manager, depending upon the work situation, the setting that you're in, that's what they want from you. That's what they really, really want. And like where your industriousness and the results of what you do in your work situation, of all that, of all that effort you put into work, then it will pay off. And just don't try to over promote it or brag about it out of insecurity of feeling like you're not enough, of feeling like it's not good enough, but allow it to speak for itself. Allow those results to speak for themselves, as opposed to not getting carried away on an emotional level. And I don't want to sound uncompassionate when I say that. You are allowed to express your emotions at work, but in a way that is, controlled and secure and grounded, and not, over the top. Now, it's very, very likely that, Capricorn is a sign of, what is done over and over again, what is tested out, and you like the proven way of doing things. Very, very easily, that's what you like. However, you do not mind incorporating and introducing yourself to new, innovative solutions for doing things. You're open to, new situations, like how to put a study on the shoe, take the red string and replace it with the brown string, or the Excel spreadsheets will open up another wider document to be able to do that. Like these are just examples of what you can do to innovate new methods, or a new way of making money, or a new way of generating revenue. I mean, whatever it can be. You're open to it as long as, they prove to rise above the original approaches that that you're familiar with doing. As long as they are better and more advanced than the there's a lot of advantages from what you're doing, when it comes to when it comes to the original way of doing things versus the more, innovative way of doing it. So, so you're skilled at, you're very, very skilled at integrating new components into your life, new parts into your life, especially when it comes to, emotions and, well, actually, what I'll do, because I just love doing it so much, I will, when I get back to classes way later in the fall, I will do it daily, and if it doesn't work out for me, then I will pull back to, that schedule, but, I'll allow myself to do it, but if it doesn't work out, then I'll pull back. I'll just say that's, I'll cross that bridge when I get there, but I want to continue to do it on a daily basis because I enjoy doing it so much. So I just needed to allow myself that option. So I say things in videos and I contradict myself. Like, it's okay to contradict yourself because you're not bound to, like, I have a lot of Gemini energy. Gemini energy is not wanting to be bound by promises because they want liberation, to explore, to change their minds, to come up with new ideas. Like that's Gemini energy. So, so you're very, very skilled at putting new components into your life. Only when they improve upon the old way of doing things. Only when they improve. Well, maybe I'll just continue doing it every day. Maybe I'll just continue doing it. I'll see. That's the plan. Anyway, I'm letting it go. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, I digress. So integrating new components into your life. So you could be very, very what you want to do is taking the old structure or the old way of doing it, the original tried and true way of doing it, and you want to improve upon it and expand upon it and come up with how can this be revolutionized? How can this be changed for the better? So, any career where you are having a direct impact on others, where you are, with others in a way where it is, I'll find a way around it. I'll find a way around doing it daily. Anyway, I just want to say that. All right. So, good at careers directly impacting others, directly, affecting others. Doing all that. Having a positive impact on others. Any role that involves nurturing others or helping them develop. Connecting with audiences, presenting in front of an audience. Presenting your stuff and sharing your unique, authentic voice and, tone and, way of being towards an audience. Excuse me, I have to do this one thing real quick. So, connecting with an audience, sharing what you can do with an audience. By sharing, and this is the talent that I want to share. This is what I'm good at. I'm sharing it with you. So, you also want to share, sharing your emotional truths. Sharing what's true for you emotionally, and being your true emotional self in your work. And I plan to become a music artist, and maybe I'll take voice lessons or something to get better at singing. I'm already a very, very good singer, but I want to maximize my talent when it comes to singing. So I will potentially be a music artist when it comes to that. In a way, well, yeah. Okay. I have to get real with myself here. It's a really, really real thing. Yeah, I'll see. I'll just have to, yeah. So, yeah. Plan to do it every day, but anyway, I just forget, okay. So, sharing your emotional truths and being your authentic self in your work. That's huge. And when you're a music artist, you're really sharing your emotions. You're really sharing what you really feel. and really want to express in a very, very deep and meaningful way with being an artist and doing all this, and yeah. So when you're a music artist, you're sharing, you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, and you're expressing, your emotions through music. You're using music as a way to communicate all these emotions that you have inside of yourself. So it's very important for you to be very intentional about which emotional information to share. Being very, very discerning about this, because it's going to be very, very natural for you in your life to broadcast or just share openly your inner state. Very, very easily. It's going to be very, very, you want to share your emotions. And, it's okay to share your emotions. Like, you're allowed to share your emotions that work with whatever you're feeling, whatever's true to you. But only share what feels truly right for you to share. Well, like if it doesn't feel like, ooh, I shouldn't share this is not appropriate, this is too personal, this will, make me look better. Just if it doesn't feel right, like if you don't feel secure and at peace and at home within yourself when it comes to sharing all this information, then then I would suggest not sharing it. Then I would suggest just putting it aside and not, worrying about it and filtering it out, or communicating in a way where you do feel emotionally secure, where it does feel right to share that information. And with what feels most comfortable to you. Really sharing what feels most comfortable for you to share. Now, in terms of relationship, in terms of partners, it's very important that you have a partner who is very, very sympathetic towards you, of your need for work, to put yourself out there and work, to work, to be ambitious, to be out there, working in a career, having a stable job, having a stable life. You need to be with somebody who respects your drive, somebody who will not make all these judgments and accusations and put you down like, oh, you're so focused on work, why don't you spend more time with me? And you don't want a partner who's emotionally dependent on you and expects you to cater to their every need and expects you to be their emotional savior and with them all the time, at home all the time, doing all that. Like you want somebody who respects it respects all this motivation that you have. It doesn't feel like being so wrapped up in work, it doesn't feel like an attack towards them. Like somebody who feels emotionally secure with you being so driven toward accomplishment, achievement, and work. In terms of friendships, you like to be around friends who are very, very, accomplished. You like to accomplish a lot of things, like to achieve a lot of things in your life. You like to be, around those friends really, really easily. The friends who, because Capricorn is I build, like you're building a career, you're building a stable, long-term, lasting life for yourself, and you're building something from the ground up. You're building something from the ground up. You're starting at the very, very bottom and you're working your way up. And, affecting the world in a really, really positive way. Those friends who want to affect the world positively. So that's what you want in terms of friendship. So your standing at work is really, really strong. And the reason why is because you put your heart and soul and everything in you into what you do. You pour your heart into it. You don't do a half-assed job. You don't do a somewhat, I'm somewhat committed. Okay, I'll kind of do this well. Like, no, you're fully focused and driven to get that goal accomplished and to achieve whatever you want to achieve in terms of your heart. What you are driven to do that. You commit to it wholeheartedly, and you put all your emotions into it. Now, the shadows of this placement includes a couple of different things, and I'm going to get into them. The very, very first one is workaholism. That's a really, really big thing because, workaholism. In our society, you're taught that the more productive you are, the harder you work, the more worthy you are, the better you are, the more successful you will be in life, and that is so not true. Like, yes, work makes you very, very successful, but life is not all about just working and achieving. That's the Cancer North Node lesson that they're learning. So you really, really want to be aware of this need to constantly work and constantly, achieve, and and just when you're feeling very, very down or depressed, or like when things aren't going well in your life, you like pour yourself into your work and just be productive, as opposed to just feeling your emotions and just integrating and being vulnerable with them. And so it's very, very important to have a nice work-life balance between your personal life, your personal life and well-being, and your work situation. So having a balance between not only your work and your out there in the world, but also your home life, your family, your house, that area of your life. So don't let workaholism, this obsessive drive to just achieve and do all this work, keep you from taking care of your personal life. So you'll find that achieving goals brings satisfaction. It will bring a lot of satisfaction to, put all this work in and, have a goal accomplished. Like when you set a goal, like I want to achieve this, when you put one step in front of the other, when you really, really put in the work, it feels so worth it in the end when you get done with it. But there is so much to be said about who you become along the way. There's so much to be said about how you grow emotionally along the way. Like there's so much to be said about the journey, as opposed to that end goal, the prize at the end, the single destination. Success is a journey, not a single destination. Like you're climbing up a mountain, just enjoy the trek up the mountain. Don't just focus on like, oh, the mountain and where I want to go. Well, like if you don't have the goal, then you don't have the any goal or anything to strive toward. But you also it takes, you can't just jump to point A to point B. You have to go through the process of actually going there. So why don't you just enjoy it? Why don't you just enjoy the process of going to one place and then another? Why can't you enjoy it and look at how you're evolving? What lessons are you learning? What things you're experiencing? How you're growing along the way? So then, also, finding joy in the present moment is very, very important. Like not focus on, achieving for the future. Capricorn is so focused on, what do I want to achieve and working towards that, putting all my ambition, time, and energy into that. But then focus on, just what brings you joy in the now. It's good to balance this out with enjoying the now, settling down, relaxing, focusing on the simple things, like it's all very, very important. Like that song I did for Mr. Beast is what I'm thinking of, where the message for him is you're worthy of rest, you're worthy of being present, you're worthy of settling down, and, all that. So, finding joy in the present moment. Just being here now, looking around you with what I touch, taste, smell, hear, and see, and intuit, and looking at, enjoying the nice food, the nice, beautiful sunshine, connecting with the people in your world. Like, look at what's right in front of you is very, very important. Aside from needing constant external validation from everybody else, like, am I doing okay? Am I approaching this goal in the right way? Do I have a strong enough work ethic to achieve this goal? Am I using my time wisely to achieve this goal? Like all these things, like all this need for external validation. There needs to be this, like, and it's the moon, so it's what you need to feel at peace with yourself. So equilibrium, feeling an equilibrium and calm with yourself. It's really, really important. So feeling, equilibrium and peace within yourself. Serenity inside yourself. The big thing here is that you're here to accomplish something really, really emotional and meaningful towards you. Whatever that is. And only you know what that is. And the important thing is for you to be appreciated and acknowledged for doing it. And when you are appreciated and acknowledged, then you will truly feel safe and secure within yourself. So that is all I have to say on the moon in the 10th house of the natal chart. I hope that you found this interesting, and valuable. If you have this placement, if you don't, if you're just interested to listen to podcasts, like these podcasts are not like, oh, pick your placement and, just listen to what you need to know about it. Like, I hope that the people who come on here don't just watch it because, not their placement. Like, I hope that the people who don't have this placement watch it just out of curiosity, interest, because that's how my podcasts are meant to be. It's just for the just curiosity and, enjoying the, the information, sitting back and listening to it, as opposed to, oh, it's not my placement, so therefore I'm not going to watch it. It doesn't apply to me. No, it's not my, it's a very, very limiting way to look at astrology, is just to study your own placements. Like, be open to all the placements and just watch something and I'm curious about it. Like, those are my videos now. That's my approach to videos now. So, thank you for enjoying this episode. And I want to talk about, I want to go into some aspects on this, podcast. I have several ideas for episodes. I may do another one of my house placements. I may do some synastry aspects, the synastry, the astrology, relationships I have to see. But for now, that is all I have to say in this episode, and I will see you back tomorrow for another episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. Take care.